Hey there, STEM Spark enthusiasts. I'm so glad you're here. I'm Courtney, and welcome back to the STEM Spark, where we ignite curiosity, creativity, and confidence in every learner through science, technology, engineering, the arts, and math. All right, the last Just for Kids episode had such a wonderful response, I decided to make it into an entire series right here on the STEM Spark. So today we are going to make some fun things that glow in the dark. Let's get started. So before we start experimenting, let's talk a little bit about the science of glowing. When something glows, it's releasing energy as visible light. And that light can come from different processes. Scientists call this luminescence, which means light without heat. Let's look at a few ways this can happen. One of the ways is fluorescence. Fluorescence happens when something absorbs ultraviolet light, which we can't see, and it gives off visible light, which we can see. Highlighters, tonic water, some laundry detergents all contain fluorescent materials that glow instantly under a black light. When the UV light turns off, the glow disappears. So a black light looks like this. And we see that when you are looking at the black light, it actually looks violet because the ultraviolet of the black light, the violet spectrum is all that we can see with our human eyes. We cannot see any other light that it's emitting. But we can see how it reacts with other materials like highlighters, tonic water, and different things. So that's what makes a black light or ultraviolet light really fun. Another way this can happen is phosphorescence. This is what gives us that classic glow in the dark kind of thing. These materials absorb energy from light and then slowly release it, glowing for minutes or even hours afterwards. Chemiluminescence is another one. This occurs when a chemical reaction releases energy as light instead of heat. Glow sticks are a great example. When you bend the glow stick, two chemicals mix. One releases energy and the other converts that energy into visible light. So fun. The last one is bioluminescence. Nature glows too. Fireflies, jellyfish, and certain types of deep sea fish make their own light through chemical reactions inside of their bodies. They use it for communication, attracting prey, or even hiding from predators. So, whether it's chemistry, biology, or physics, glowing always comes down to energy changing form from one type, like chemical or UV light energy, into visible light. Super cool. Okay, let's gather some materials. It is time to make some glow things of your own. I've got 4 different experiments for you to try. Some of these materials you're going to need to ask your parent or caregiver for permission and help. So let's take this list to them. You can try one or you can try them all. Here are the materials you're going to need. For glow slime, you're going to need glue. You're going to need baking soda. You're going to need contact lens solution, glow-in-the-dark paint, a zipper bag or container, a bowl, a spoon, and some measuring spoons. So, grab those materials. For cloud dough, if that is one you want to make, you are going to need cornstarch, white hair conditioner. It does need to be, this is like what you use for your hair in the shower. It does need to be white, is the best way to do that, or the best one to use. A zipper bag or a container to put it in, a bowl, a spoon, and measuring cups. All right. If you would like to do the lava lamp in a bag, you're going to need a zipper bag or a jar. You could also do it in a jar. You're going to need clear oil. So you could use vitamin E oil or maybe some baby oil. It just needs to be clear. Okay? And then you're also going to need some glow finger paint. It does need to be neon or glow in the dark, either one. And then a bag, which we talked about, and tape, which is really important because we're going to seal the bag so it doesn't leak. Okay, the next experiment would be the glow rubber ball. For this one, you're going to need either a jar or a cup for warm water. You're going to need borax, which is in the laundry aisle. You don't need a lot, so if you know somebody with some, you just need a tablespoon. You could just borrow a tablespoon. You're going to need some glue, some cornstarch for this one, and your glow-in-the-dark paint, along with a bowl and a spoon, as well as your measuring utensils. We are going to jump in with glow slime. So, gather your materials. We're going to need glue. We're going to need baking soda. We are also going to need that contact lens solution, our glow-in-the-dark paint, our zipper bag or container, a bowl, and something to mix with, like a spoon. I'm going to use a craft stick or popsicle stick, and then we will need our measuring spoons. All right, we are going to measure out 3 ounces of glue. So that is 2 ounces. I'm going to use my craft stick or your spoon to kind of scrape it out. And then I need 1 more ounce. All right. Now I'm going to measure out my baking soda. So for baking soda, I need 1/2 tablespoon. I don't have 1/2 tablespoon measuring spoon, so I'm going to do well, what I know about measuring is 3 teaspoons equals 1 tablespoon. So 1/2 of 3 is 1 1/2. So I'm going to do 1 1/2 teaspoons. See how I'm making sure that my measurement is even by scraping it on the side of baking soda. So that's 1. Now we're going to do 1/2. There's my baking soda. And now I need 1 tablespoon of contact lens solution. And I'm going to do 3 teaspoons because that's an equivalent measurement. So we've got 3 teaspoons. All right. Now, a couple of drops of my glow-in-the-dark paint. That's good. And I'm going to mix carefully because it's got lots of liquid. And you really want to mix that liquid into the glue. So you see how I'm kind of pulling it up, letting that liquid kind of getting in there. And I keep squishing it around till it's all mixed up. I'm gonna switch this to a bigger bowl so I can really mix it up a bit better. Have more room. All right, look at that. We've got some good slime. So right now it doesn't look super glowy because I'm in regular light, but if you put it down by the black light, you can see it's really glowing. Also, this is glow in the dark, so this will absorb light energy and then slowly release it. So if it was really dark, it would glow even brighter. So this will be super fun to play with in the dark or at nighttime. All right, that is our first experiment. How does adding the fluorescent paint or the glow-in-the-dark paint change the slime's appearance? And what does that tell you about how light interacts with materials? So you can kind of think about that as you're playing. All right, next is cloud dough. For this one, we're gonna need cornstarch, white conditioner, like you would use in the shower, our glow paint, and a measuring cup of any size. It really doesn't, well, the size does matter depending on how much ingredients you have. So maybe a medium to small measuring cup. I am gonna measure 4 ounces of cornstarch for my cloud dough. Now, the measure for this one is pretty versatile, I guess you could say. You're gonna do whatever your measure is. You're gonna do 2 of the cornstarch to 1 of the conditioner. So I am gonna do 2 of my 2-ounce measures of cornstarch. So that's gonna be 4 ounces of cornstarch. It's very powdery, so careful if it plumes up. All right, so that's 2 measures of my cornstarch. And then I'm gonna measure 1 of the white hair conditioner. So I knew it was gonna do that. That's why I held it over the bowl. Ooh, I'm getting to the bottom. All right, so 1 of these. All right, so I'm gonna use my spoon or craft stick to scrape all of that out. Get it in my bowl. I think this one might be my favorite. This recipe and the cloud dough. It's a lot of fun. And then a few squirts of my glow paint, because we want all of this to glow. Glow is the best. I like the glow. All right, you're gonna stir this up and it's gonna start to mix. And then once it starts to really stick together, you are going to just go in with your hands and your fingers, and it's gonna feel kind of like a Play-Doh. So I want all of that to kind of mix together. It's starting to stick. That's a good sign. Now, if you want to just jump right in with your fingers, you can. That's up to you. I like to get it a little bit more mixed before I do that. But use your spoon to kind of cut in, and that will really help to mix it together and get all of that loose cornstarch mixed into that conditioner. All right, so now that I have a pretty decent ball, I'm gonna start to use my fingers here in just a second. All right, here we go. See how I'm kind of pushing it together and then folding it? It's a good way to mix. You can also use the dough to kind of pick up the other pieces, just like you would Play-Doh. All right. So this is done pretty well. It should be kind of ooey, squishy, gooey. The cornstarch in this is going to make it move kind of differently than a Play-Doh would. It's going to have a little bit more liquidity, I guess you could say, to it. So it's going to kind of move a little bit more on its own. But it's super fun, super stretchy. It's kind of like if you had Play-Doh and slime together, is what it feels like. It's super great. This is definitely one of my favorites things to make. And it smells good because of the conditioner. So it'll glow a little bit in that UV light, but it's going to glow at night as well because it's going to absorb that light energy and then slowly release it back. So this will be super fun to play with at nighttime or in the dark. All right, there's your cloud dough. I hope you had fun making that. Our question for cloud dough: what do you notice about how the dough glows when you stretch it or compress it? All right, for the lava lamp experiment, you're going to need some type of clear oil, neon finger paint, or tonic water, a bag or a jar. You will also need tape and potentially measuring spoons depending on how you're measuring your oil. So we're going to start with the zipper bag this time because our experiment is actually in the bag. So what I'm going to do is kind of fold it down and get it to stand up a bit because I'm going to put my oil in the bag. So my oil is pre-measured because I bought just a small one, 4 ounces. So I'm going to go ahead and put this whole 4 ounce bit of oil in the bag. All right, just make sure that your bag is pretty sturdy. You don't want it falling over because oil is very hard to clean up. So, my bag looks pretty sturdy. I'm gonna put some drops of the finger paint in the bag. You could also use like the regular glow in the dark paint. I don't think it works as well. I think this actually works better. I might end up with, yeah, I think I am. Gonna go ahead and put a little bit more finger paint in there. All right. So now I'm going to uncurl my bag. I'm going to try to get as much of the air out as possible and then zip it up nice and tight. A freezer bag works really well for this because it's a little bit more sturdy. And then you can go around and do different pictures. You can break it up, all kinds of fun stuff. But the two substances are not going to mix because one is oil and one is water. So there we have it. How fun is that? That's super fun. All right, our thinking question. Oh, sorry, let's tape it. So to keep it nice and sealed, I'm going to lay it down. I've already pre-cut some tape, but we're going to use some clear tape, and I'm going to go over that seal with some tape. Actually going to do a couple of pieces just to make sure it's not going to open up accidentally. All right, you do want to be careful with your bag so that you don't break it, but so cool. All the little bits and pieces. Okay, why do the glowing pieces move around the way they do? And what happens if you were to change the amount of oil versus paint? What would happen? Very fun. And I like to hold it up. That's cool. All right, let's clean up from this one and get ready for our next experiment. All right, let's make a glow rubber ball. For this experiment, you're gonna need half a cup of warm water. Be sure to ask an adult to help you. A tablespoon of borax, so we do need that. We need a tablespoon of glue. Clear glue will make your ball clear. White glue will make it not clear. Cornstarch, so we need that again, and glow-in-the-dark paint. A bowl, a spoon, and your measuring utensils. Okay, so first we're going to start with the warm water, and we are going to add a tablespoon of borax to our water. Now, I don't have my tablespoon measure. Somebody borrowed it. So I am going to do 3 teaspoons because that is an equivalent measurement. I always scrape the top so it's the right amount. It's important to be exact when you're measuring for science or for cooking. All right, I'm gonna actually just use that to stir it. Okay, so I've measured my borax into my warm water, and I'm gonna let that just sit once it's all mixed up. You can see, if you look in the water, that the particles are no longer floating around. So I know that it's good and mixed, and so I'm just gonna set that to the side for later in the experiment. Now I need to measure a tablespoon of glue. So I'm going to take my glue measure 3 teaspoons, which is equivalent to 1 tablespoon. All right, so I've got my 1 tablespoon. Scrape that out. And then I'm gonna measure 1 tablespoon of cornstarch. Now I'm gonna wipe out any excess glue so I don't get the glue into my cornstarch box. So I don't wanna contaminate it. All right, 1 tablespoon, which is 3 teaspoons of cornstarch. One. 2. 3. All right, now I'm gonna add in a couple of drops of my glow paint. Okay, so now let's stir together. It's gonna start mixing up. Ooh, that's looking good. All right, right now it's super liquidy. So this is where we're gonna add in a little bit of the borax solution to start getting this to firm up. So I'm gonna do half a teaspoon at a time. Again, remember this is very warm water, so you wanna be super careful. This is gonna make it start sticking together. Gonna start to feel like slime. Yeah, there we go. I'm gonna do 1 more half a teaspoon. And then I think I'm just gonna go in with my hands. Now the borax is what's gonna help it stick together. And firm up. All right, so once I get it kind of mushed together, it's starting to firm up. I like it. I'm gonna roll it into a ball. Now this process may take a little while. All right, I have my bouncy ball. That's pretty awesome. Now this may lose its shape, so you can keep it in a zippy bag. If it does loses its shape, of course you can just roll it back up into a ball and keep playing. So again, this has the glow in the dark paint, so it will glow at night or in a dark environment. So that is our last experiment. Our question for this one, why do you think the glow is more visible in some parts of the ball than others? All right, whether you made 1 experiment or all 4, you just became a scientist. When things glow, we're actually watching energy transformations in real time. Whether it's UV light exciting electrons or chemicals reacting to release energy, glowing teaches us about the deep connections between energy, matter, and light. Glow science blends chemistry, physics, and even art, showing that when learning lights up, understanding does too. I'll leave you with this final question. What experiment did you enjoy making the most? Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you never miss an episode. Share it with a fellow STEM enthusiast. I'll be back next week with more ideas to keep your STEM glowing bright. This is Courtney with the STEM Spark, where curiosity sparks creativity. Bye.